Hey everyone, welcome back. So, graphic design, huh? Thinking about a career in that world.
Lots to uncover there.
Yeah, it's more than just making things look pretty, right? At least that's what I've heard.
It is. Way more.
Let's dive into it. We've got some info here from RoleCatcher, their career guide on becoming a graphic designer.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. So where do we even start?
Well, I think RoleCatcher makes a really good point about how, it's not just about being artsy.
Okay, yeah,
You need that, obviously, a good eye for design and all that.
right.
But they really emphasize communication, problem solving,
Sure thing.
those client relationships, all that. Super important.
So it's not enough to just make, like, a cool logo or something.
And not at all.
Yeah.
It's got to work for the client, for their audience, the whole picture.
So there's a lot of strategy involved.
Tons. You really have to understand the client's needs. What are they trying to say? Who are they trying to reach?
That makes sense.
And then on top of that, you got to stay updated with all the latest tech and trends.
Oh, right, because everything's always changing in the digital world.
Exactly.
Sure.
Software, design trends, the whole 9 yards.
So how does someone even wrap their head around all of that? Like, where do you even begin?
Well, they have this career stages section. It's really helpful, actually.
Okay, what's it say?
Lays out kind of how you move up in the field.
Like from newbie to design superstar.
Exactly. So you might start as like a assistant, you know,
Yeah, making the coffee, right?
maybe, but also learning the software,
Yeah.
helping with projects, absorbing everything.
Gotcha.
And then as you get experience, you move up to leading projects, managing those client relationships we talked about,
Okay.
maybe even mentoring junior designers. So it's a climb.
A design ladder.
Yeah, exactly. And at the top, senior designer.
Ooh, fancy. What do they do?
They're not just designing anymore. They're shaping the entire creative strategy for a brand.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're thinking big picture.
Okay, so like what does that even mean? Big picture. For a senior designer, break it down for me.
Okay, so imagine you're responsible for how a brand looks and feels
Okay.
across every platform.
So we're talking like websites, social media, everything.
Everything. It's the logo, the colors, the fonts, even the tone of voice they use.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about creating a cohesive visual identity,
Yeah.
something that people will instantly recognize and connect with.
So they're like the architects of the brand's whole visual world.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. But also pretty high pressure.
Definitely high pressure.
I'm feeling stressed just thinking about it.
But also incredibly rewarding when you get it right.
I bet. Okay, so we've talked about traditional graphic design, but the guide also mentioned UX UI design. That's a whole other beast, right?
It is, but it's becoming more and more intertwined with graphic design, especially in the digital space.
Right, because it's not just about making websites look pretty anymore. It's got to be easy to use too.
Exactly. UX is all about how people experience a website or an app.
Hmm.
UI is how they interact with it.
So, like, is it easy to find what you're looking for? Does it make sense? That kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about functionality meeting aesthetics.
Right. So it's like a beautiful website that's also a nightmare to navigate. That's no good.
Nope. And that's why this field is booming.
Makes sense. Everyone wants a website that looks good and works well.
Exactly. And for graphic designers, it's a natural progression. You're already thinking about design, about user experience. Now you're just applying it to the digital world.
So it's like you're not just designing a website, you're designing an experience.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's a constantly evolving field with tons of opportunity.
It's like the Wild West of design out there.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so we've established that graphic design is way more than just being artsy, but like any career path, it's got to have its ups and downs, right?
Definitely.
What does the guide say about the pros and cons of this field?
Oh, they definitely don't sugarcoat it.
Okay, good.
But they start with the good stuff.
Hit me with it. What's so great about being a graphic designer, according to RoleCatcher?
Well, they talk about the creative freedom, the variety of projects. Like you could be working on a logo one day, a website the next.
Okay, so it's never boring.
Right.
Okay.
And they highlight the potential for remote work, which is huge for a lot of people these days.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love the idea of working from their couch in their pajamas?
Exactly. Plus, they say there's a high demand for skilled designers. So job security is a big plus.
Music to my ears. But it can't all be sunshine and roses, right?
Right. They're upfront about the competition. It's a tough field to break into.
Yeah, makes sense. Everyone and their mother thinks they're a designer these days thanks to Instagram.
Yeah, something like that.
So what else? What are some other challenges?
Tight deadlines, that's a big one.
Oh yeah, I bet. And probably lots of long nights staring at a computer screen.
Definitely. And then, of course, there's the client feedback.
Ah, yes, the dreaded client feedback loop. Make it
Ew.
pop more, but not too much.
Exactly. It can be tough. You have to learn to handle constructive criticism, adapt your vision based on what the client wants.
So thick skin is a must-have.
Essential.
Gotcha. Now, RoleCatcher also mentioned that there are tons of different specializations within graphic design.
Right. It's not just one size fits all.
So you could specialize in like illustration or web design or
Or branding and identity design, which is super hot right now.
really branding. Like what does that even
Well,
entail?
think about it. We're bombarded with brands every day.
True.
So to stand out, a brand needs a strong visual identity.
Okay. So that's where a branding specialist comes in.
Exactly.
So like what are they actually doing? Are they designing logos?
Logos, color palettes, typography, even the tone of voice they use in their marketing.
So they're like shaping the entire personality of a brand.
Exactly.
That's a huge responsibility.
It is, but it's also incredibly rewarding. I mean, think about some of the most iconic brands out there.
Like Apple.
Exactly. Their logo, their minimalist aesthetic, it's instantly recognizable.
Sure.
And that's what branding designers do. They create those lasting impressions.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, sign me up, I want to be a graphic designer.
They're hooked.
Hooked. What are the first steps? What does the guide recommend?
Well, RoleCatcher's very clear on this point. They say building a strong portfolio is non-negotiable.
Okay, so it's not enough to just like be good at Photoshop, you need to show it.
Exactly. And they actually say that a strong portfolio can be even more valuable than a formal degree.
Whoa, really? So you're telling me experience trumps a fancy piece of paper?
In some cases, yes.
Interesting. But how do you even build a portfolio if you've never had any clients?
That's where personal projects come in. Freelance gigs, volunteer work, designed for friends, family, anyone who needs it.
So like create your own opportunities.
Exactly. It's all about getting your work out there, building a body of work that you're proud to show off.
Makes sense. And I imagine networking is a big part of this whole thing too.
Huge.
Totally. Okay, so you've put in the work, you've got your portfolio, you've even braved the networking waters, and bam, you land an interview.
Congrats.
Right. But how do you actually ace it? I'm imagining those design interviews can be pretty intense.
They can be. But this is where RoleCatcher's interview prep can really come in handy. Remember those AI tools we talked about?
Yeah, they're supposed to be like game changers for interview prep.
Exactly.
So how do they work? Do they just like spit out a bunch of generic interview questions?
Not at all. It's way more sophisticated than that. It's not just about having a massive database of questions, although they do have that. It's about understanding what hiring managers in the graphic design world are looking for.
So it's tailored to the specific field.
Exactly. They analyze what makes a successful candidate in this field, so you can walk into that interview feeling prepared and confident.
Okay, so it's like giving you the inside scoop on what those hiring managers are really looking for.
Exactly. And they take it a step further with these AI-powered practice sessions.
Okay.
So you can actually record yourself answering common interview questions.
Oh, wow.
And then, get this, you get personalized feedback on your answers.
So it's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. Okay, so to wrap up, RoleCatcher's given us some great insights today. They've talked about building those essential skills, crafting a killer portfolio, and even acing those interviews. But there's one more thing I wanted to touch on.
The importance of developing your own unique style.
Yes, because we can talk about technical skills and software and all that,
Right.
but in a field as creative as graphic design, how do you actually stand out from the crowd?
It's the million-dollar question.
Right. So how do you do it? How do you find that it factor?
Well, it's tough. And it's something that RoleCatcher doesn't try to answer with some simple formula.
Which I kind of respect.
Yeah, because it's deeply personal, you know? It's about finding your creative voice, experimenting, pushing boundaries, maybe even breaking a few design rules along the way.
So it's about more than just like mastering the technical stuff.
Way more. It's about bringing your own unique perspective to the table, your own experiences, your own influences.
That's really cool. So for anyone listening who's drawn to this field, who loves design, who's ready to put in the work, I think that's a really inspiring message to tend on.
I agree. By all means, hone those technical skills, but never be afraid to let your own unique style shine through.
Love it. Well said. And who knows, maybe someday your work will be the subject of our next deep dive.
I like the sound of that.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time.